Hey. Hello and welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you with us today to kick off the hackathon, the Hack Together, the Microsoft Teams Global Hack. It's all very exciting. We're excited to have everyone join us from the Microsoft 365 developer community, the Microsoft developer community, the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform communities, as well as the .NET communities as well. So you're all welcome to participate in this hackathon. And we're excited to have you with us.
Absolutely. So over the last 2 weeks, we had some great events across the world. First of all, we had Build. Impossible for all of you to miss it. And we've had a ton of really cool announcements, all related to building apps for teams, right? And then in Europe, we had another great event, the European Collab Summit, which is over 2,500 attendees in person, one of the largest events that we've got in Europe, all about, again, building apps for Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams, right? So these events are really great because they give you the stage and a place to learn a lot, to hear hear from experts, learn about the latest announcements. But there's one thing that we thought is missing, which is the hands-on experience, because what a better way to learn than to actually try things in practice. You heard a lot, you saw a lot. Now it's time to hack hands-on.
Absolutely. So it's, as Walde's just mentioned, it's a perfect opportunity, perfect time for you to see these fantastic new announcements from Build, and get hacking, get learning, and connect with people as well. Like I say, huge communities already that are building on Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams. So if you're new to this, you have a whole host of people you can reach out to for help. So, this hackathon, we have expert speakers from Microsoft. We also have community members as well, Microsoft MVPs. We have members of the product groups at Microsoft as well, who actually work on these products to help you hack. And as you're hacking as well and you're working on your projects, when you submit, we want to recognize the great work that you're doing as well. And we also have a really good recognition program. So if you submit a hack, a project at the end of this hack, then you will get a Credly, a digital badge for you to be able to share with others of your participation. So if this is actually the first time you've heard about the hack and just thinking, I'm just a bit interested, and make sure you register. We'll have lots of links, resources available to you to go and do that. So Waldek, what are people going to see in today's session?
Exactly, right? So first things first. You might have heard about Teams apps, you might have not heard about them. So that is where we exactly want to start. We want to go all the way back and really start with the why. Why would you think about extending Teams with apps, right? What's in it for you? What is really the benefit? And then the next important thing, okay, that is cool. How do you start? So in the next roughly hour, you will learn exactly all about that. You will learn why building apps for Teams is exciting, what that offers to you, your colleagues, and your org. And then the next step, you will see in practice how you actually build these apps.
Yeah, exactly. So with further ado, let's get started. So let's bring on our first guest to learn about why you should be considering building for Teams and why now is the perfect time to get started.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm Archana Sasitharan, and I head product for Microsoft Teams platform. I may have met some of you at the Build conference last week, or you may have tuned into some of the exciting keynotes we had last week. So today, I'll spend the next few minutes talking to you about why should you care? Why care about Teams platform? Why should you build apps for Teams? And what's in it for you? And excited to be here to kick off this hackathon. And hopefully, at the end of the next 15 minutes, you have more context on the why build for Teams. First, let's start there. What's Teams? Why should you care about Teams? When we think about Teams, we think of Teams as the hub for all things teamwork that involve collaboration and communication. Teams is the hub for teamwork within Microsoft 365. And Teams has four pillars to cover communication and collaboration needs of all users. First is the real-time chat, back and forth, instant chat, and you can collaborate with your team with that. Next are the callings and meetings, so the synchronous mode of communication with your team. And third and the fourth pillars is really where developers play a very, very key role, where users can also bring in the several applications that they use to collaborate with their teams and work with those applications in the context of teams, and thereby can integrate and transform and streamline business processes and workflows in their organization. So we think of teams largely as these four pillars. And the last two pillars is where we will spend some more time today talking about the why and the how, and over the next few days, hacking away. As we all know, collaboration and the needs for collaboration within a workspace has been rapidly changing in the last few years. The rapidly changing needs of both collaboration and communication has then ushered in a slew of changes that organizations are adopting to make sure that their users and employees are successful in collaboration. For instance, the workforce today is more globally distributed than ever. Everybody can work from wherever it's suitable for them. It's a flexible workspace. There is there's this always on kind of work environment. People use multiple devices, they bring their own devices, and they collaborate every day with several applications and services to get their work done. There is a lot going on, and things are changing in how users collaborate and communicate with their team to get their work done. This is where Teams, and more importantly, Teams platform and the extensibility value comes into picture and enables users to be successful in adopting these changing collaborative needs. For instance, developers can leverage the tools and technologies that they already know and then bring their applications, make their applications more collaborative by integrating the applications and workflows within Teams chats, channels, meetings, calls, enabling notifications to users, and more. So essentially, bringing your applications and meeting users where they're already working by building your applications into Teams. And you can do so, like I said, using the tools and technologies that you already know and are aware of and you love. You don't have to learn anything new if you're already using some of the tools and technologies like SharePoint, MS Graph, Web Open Web Stack, mobile development, and so on. And with the latest set of announcements we had last week at Build, your applications are not just collaborative within Teams, they also get a layer of intelligence by way of integrating within our Copilot stack, which we will talk briefly in a little bit as well. So essentially, collaboration is changing. Teams is where your users are working to collaborate, and you can bring your applications into Teams and thereby make it collaborative and intelligent. So the apps that your users use and engage are much more useful for them and with minimized context switching. Now, to make you app developers successful on Teams platform, we'll talk about what we are doing to make it simpler to build applications for Teams, what we're doing to enable reach, discovery, and engagement for your applications, and finally, how we are also helping you monetize your Teams integrations. First, on productivity. Like I said, you can already use your tools and technologies that you already know to build Teams applications. Simple, great. And second, with Teams Toolkit, you have a super simple way to build any application that you want to bring into Teams, or with the latest Copilot Stack extensibility, very soon you can also build plugins with Teams Toolkit. And using UI components such as adaptive cards, you can easily customize your user experience of how your users interact with your apps in a very cross-platform way. And finally, Toolkit also helps you to easily debug and deploy your applications across all devices and across all hubs or across all apps within M365 that support your Teams applications. Teams applications run in Teams and in Outlook and M365 app. So with Teams Toolkit, you can test and deploy your applications across all these applications. In terms of reach, yes, there are 300 million monthly active Teams users today. So your application, by way of integrating within Teams, can reach every single one of them. And not just that, with your Teams applications now also working in, like I said, in Outlook and then 365 app, you have the opportunity to reach those hundreds of millions other users that are in Outlook and M365 as well, and 365 app as well, using your Teams integrations. So that multiplies your reach that you're going for with your Teams integration. And finally, you just build once. The Teams app that you build, you just build once. And because Teams is available across all platforms and devices, your app will also be available across all platforms and devices. But before your apps can reach users, you gotta get the trust of IT admins, who are the custodians ensuring security and compliance posture of applications within their teams. Sometimes IT admins, the evaluation process that they follow or the management of applications process that they follow can slow down the adoption of your applications. But we're working hard here to make sure that IT admins are successful in evaluating, managing, deploying, and evangelizing your app adoption. So we have several programs for app compliance certification, security certification, and also management capabilities within the IT admin center that helps IT admins be super efficient in evaluating and deploying your apps. Recently, we also rolled out features like auto installation of approved apps. If your app meets certain security compliance postures, IT admins can automatically install that for you. So removing any friction in the process of rolling your apps out. And discovery. Now that IT admins have enabled your applications, how can users easily discover and engage with your applications within Teams or Outlook or M365 app? Here again, we have been launching several features to enable a very seamless app discovery and engagement experience for users. First, we have a consistent store across all the hubs that I mentioned, Teams, Outlook, and M365 app. Second, we have this, you can simply share a link pointing to a record within your app, and it will unfold into this rich entity using which seamlessly users can not just discover but engage with your applications. And there are several other contextual app discovery entry points across chats, channels, meetings, and email compose experiences where users can easily not just discover, but also engage with your apps on a repeated basis. And finally, talking of revenue, if you are monetizing your application already, then you can do so with your Teams integrations as well. For that, we have a commercial marketplace that's available across the clients in the Teams, Outlook, and 365 or in admin centers, which helps users and IT admins to purchase, manage, to purchase, transact, and also manage licenses and users for your applications. So all this capability allows you to bring in your existing business models into your Teams integrations as well and efficiently sell and manage your customer transactions. So all this value that I just spoke about, the value to users, where users can bring in their applications in the flow of their work and complete their workflows without a lot of context switching. The value to developers in being easy enough to write a team, build a Teams application, or to enable developers to get the reach and the engagement or monetization of their applications. All this value that I spoke about has been resonating really well. And thanks to several developers like you, we have great momentum. We have over 1,900 apps in our Teams App Store and 100,000 more line of business applications that customers have built for streamlining workflows with their organization. So this is great momentum, but we are most excited for the opportunity that can be unlocked with all the net new announcements we had last week at Build, specifically the Copilot extensibility and the opportunity for you developers to participate in Microsoft's AI opportunity. Speaking of which, I want to just recap a few quick highlights of what we announced last week. So it's top of mind for you as you think of how to be creative and hack in the next few days. First, we announced two ways in which you can participate, at least two ways in which you can participate in the Microsoft AI opportunity. Number one, we showed you how you can extend the M365 Copilots. And number two, we also launched a Teams AI library with which you can easily transform your Teams app, a Teams bot, or any conversational app into an intelligent one by connecting with any large language model of your choice. Extending copilots, there are three ways we discussed. Number one, you can go build a Teams message extension today, right? And make sure that you have a plugin ready to go as and when the M365 Copilot early access program rolls out to customers. This is already available. You can already build a Teams message extension, and thereby you will be ready with your plugin when Copilot is available for users. Second, you can build a graph data connectors that helps bring your data into our semantic index for Copilot so that we can ground our response, the Copilot's responses on your data, and be even more relevant in the responses we provide to users. And finally, we also announced the public preview sign up for the new tooling from the Visual Studio Toolkit, which makes it even easier for you to build the plugin for Copilot. This is how you can participate in the Microsoft 365 Copilot opportunity. And we also spoke about the Teams AI library, which is a very simple yet powerful set of libraries that helps you build conversational applications that users can interact with in a very simple natural language manner, and you have the flexibility to also connect with your large language model of your choice to make your applications responses and experience very, very relevant for your users and for your use cases. And then we spoke about GAing Teams Live Share. This is another very exciting feature that lets any single player application transform into a multiplayer application with little to no backend code, which underline. With Live Share, you can really take collaboration in meetings to the next level by enabling a slew of co-creation experiences, co-watching, co-editing, and more. So this is another opportunity, a very innovative opportunity for you. If your scenario, your use case calls for multiplayer real-time collaboration, you take advantage of share, which is generally available as well. So again, we announced a lot more than this, but I just wanted to touch upon these few highlights so that it's top of mind for you. With that, again, super excited for kicking off this hackathon. Um, Hack away and hope there is a lot of creative projects. Can't wait to see what you all build and hack in the next few days. Thank you.
What if you could supercharge the way your employees collaborate in the hybrid workplace? Beyond having meetings and chat, what if they could access the right information and functionality in the flow of their work? With collaborative applications in Microsoft Teams, you can integrate your organization's business-critical applications and processes into existing workflows. Your employees can securely access, update, and collaborate on data and insights from partner and custom apps in real time without leaving Microsoft Teams. And they can act on or share that information in context directly to Teams chats, meetings, message extensions, bots, and more, bringing collaboration to the next level. Help your organization communicate, collaborate, and work together more effectively with collaborative apps in Microsoft Teams.
Howdy, folks. I'm Amanda Silver. I'm the head of product for Microsoft's developer division. And it's a lot of fun to be here today to share with you guys the great developer experiences we're building for Microsoft Teams so that you guys can get coding. You know, early on in my career, I discovered that my personal mission, what really motivates me every single day, is to help developers and their teams unleash their ingenuity so that they can focus on building stuff that matters. As developers, we all do this by getting inspired by who we're building for. And my team, well, we're inspired by you, by developers. So we're continually striving to make it easier for you to go from a concept to code. ultimately to your customers. And we know that developers and their teams are really burning a lot of time and energy and creative bandwidth on adapting to hybrid first and flexible work environments, which has brought around a lot of changes to the workplace, like having to do work from really anywhere, being always on and being always connected, and nonlinear work, collaborating across multiple teams and projects, and really constant switching between applications to find what you need. Microsoft Teams really gives you an opportunity to develop applications for your business and for your customers and users that meet them where they are by building with the Teams platform and transforming the workplace with new ways to collaborate and engage right in their flow of work. And as developers, we all know how important it is to stay in the flow, in the zone. That's the critical element that allows us to maintain our focus so that we can get our work done. So to learn more about how you guys can do this for your customers, for your users, let's go to the code. John is going to join me to walk you through the developer experience for using the latest version of the Teams toolkit for Visual Studio Code. Hey, John, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you. And hi, everyone. I'm John. I'm a product manager, and I'm helping create the developer tools for Microsoft Teams so that way you can build apps and everyone else can as well. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of how you can get started building the stuff that we work on, which is called Teams Toolkit, which you just heard Archana talking a little bit about.
So John, what is Teams Toolkit for everybody who's listening here?
Sure. So Teams Toolkit is a set of developer tools for creating apps using Teams platform. It includes project templates. It also helps with automation for setting things up. It helps you run and debug those apps across Microsoft 365. That's Teams, Outlook, and the Microsoft 365 app. And then we also have lots of templates also for automating these things. So if you want to put your apps in CI/CD, we have templates for that as well for GitHubs and for Azure DevOps. And so it's really a set of developer tools so that you can get started.
Awesome. So, we often talk about like tabs and bots and messaging extensions. Can you share a little bit more about these different types of applications and kind of, how we can think about those different types of experiences?
Sure. Yeah. Part of the toolkit is we have templates for letting you create these types of apps that extend the platform with these different things like tabs and bots and message extensions. And so bots are conversational experiences that you can create inside of Teams, but they also power many of the other experiences. So something like a message extension. And then tabs are one way that you can embed web content inside of Teams. So that might show up in a group chat or inside of a channel. And these are really the terminologies that you start learning. And these are different ways to extend Teams and the way that your app can extend Teams. So you can combine these things. You can use one or multiples. And the toolkit helps you get started with those.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about like what kinds of applications are we seeing folks already start to build?
Yeah, there's all kinds of applications across many industries like retail, airlines, healthcare, manufacturing. And last week at Build, we saw lots of those apps show up in the presentation. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, I encourage everyone to go back and look at some of the breakout sessions and some of the demos that we had at Build. And you can see a lot of these customers presenting what they've built and what you saw trying to show a little bit before, like the breakthrough app was one that we had in that video. And that helps you take tiny little breaks throughout work and shows you some videos and some relaxation exercises. And, that's just one way that you can put something inside of Teams and then you don't have to leave and you can get these little inspirational kind of motivational time to take a break. So that's one that we all really enjoy. And yeah, there's it's endless, however you want to combine these things, the tabs, and you can embed whatever web content you want, or you want to create some type of conversational experience. Yeah.
All right. So enough talk. We're talking to developers here. Let's actually go to the code and show them how they can get started.
Sure. Yeah. So what I've got here is I've got Visual Studio Code open, and I've just to show you the Teams toolkit. You can just grab it inside of the marketplace. So I already have it installed, so we won't have to do that. Once you install it, you get this tab on the left side here, which is the Teams toolkit tab, and you get a couple options and all the project templates that we have for you to get started with these different capabilities like tabs and bots. You can just click create a new app, and you can start kind of narrowing down your selection of how you want to start your app. So once you have your idea of maybe how you want to extend Teams, then you can start picking what's maybe the best place for me to start. So if I want to do something conversational, maybe I start with a bot, or if I want to embed content somewhere in a group or inside of a tab, you can start with tab. Same if you want to extend the chat compose area, that you would start with message extension. And we also have support for creating Outlook add-ins as well. So just for demonstration, I like to start with bots. And we have a couple different options here. You can go totally basic if you want to start empty and kind of build up whatever idea you want. Maybe you're more familiar with the platform and you just want a good starting point for like an empty project. That's a basic bot. Or we have some other more scenario focused templates that help you get started with things like showing information inside of a chat. So that's a notification. So if you want to take some data from somewhere and put that into a Teams chat, the notification message template helps you get there. Or if you want to create an app where you can type a command in the compose area and then do something, that would be a chat command. Or
Gotcha.
if you want,
And so it's kind of common for people to actually do kind of a mix of these things in terms of like, as they're building an application, they might build both a bot and a notification.
yeah, you can combine these things. So the project template just kind of give you a good starting point. But let's say I want to have a notification, and then I also want to have a chat command. You can totally do both of these things. They really just give you like the defaults to get things started. So yeah, you can combine these and however whatever your imagination takes you.
Awesome.
So I'm going to get started with the notification message. I think that's probably the easiest for me. And we have a couple different options on how you want to show that notification. So there's lots of ways you could do that, whether you want to trigger that with some type of post like HTTP command, or you want it to be on a timer, or maybe some combination of that. And then we have some different options on how you want to start with that. And then we support JavaScript and TypeScript in the VS Code toolkit. So I'll choose TypeScript and just give my project a name. And then the toolkit will go ahead and scaffold out some project template for this. So we'll take a look at what it gives you by default. And the toolkit gives you a couple of opinions to help you get started. They're optional. You can decide which you want to use or not. The first thing, I think, if you're not familiar with a Teams app, really, the Teams app this is a Teams app. It's a manifest file. And this is how you kind of express like how I extend the platform. So make sure my font's big enough. So there's some metadata about your app, a little too big. And you can go through and see, so this is a bot template. And this is really how I've defined that we're extending the Teams platform with a bot. So we'll get some idea here, show up, this defines where it's at. So this is a scope. It's going to show up as a personal app. It's going to show up in a team channel. It's going to show up in a group chat. And these are all the things you can start to narrow down as you learn the platform and figure out exactly where you want your app and your capabilities to appear. And yeah, so the project template gives you a good place to start. So that's basically a Teams app. And then there's two icons that are involved. So that's what the app package folder is. Template gives you that by default. And the implementation for that bot. So we use the bot framework for this. And it basically gives you an API that Teams and the bot framework can communicate with and do something with. And so we have an example. I'll close the README file here because I'm going to talk about it. We have an example implementation of doing this. And so that's in this file. We have one endpoint here, which is defined here as API notification. So whenever we post to our server running here with Restify, then we will respond with an adaptive card. An adaptive card is a way for you to basically have some JSON that will display some UI as a nice card inside of a Teams chat or channel. So
and it's adaptive. It's called adaptive because...
Yeah, good point. It's adaptive because it will change based on where it's rendered, but also depending on the device or form factor. So if it's on mobile, I guess responsive is one way to think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a super easy way to do responsive design, right?
Yeah, so you don't have to think too much about knowing like HTML or CSS or any of that kind of stuff. You can just use the JSON declarative syntax for this, and then it'll figure out what it needs to look like inside of Teams. But what's really cool is that it also works across M365. So that same JSON will be responsive and adaptive across Teams and Outlook and also M365 apps. So that way, if you see this anywhere, you get like a consistent experience.
Awesome.
So we have just some usage of I think our Teams FX SDK in here, and for rendering adaptive cards and the adaptive card SDK. So we can just use this to declare what it looks like. And that JSON that I talked about is defined here. So here's what the adaptive card looks like as JSON. So we just kind of express, we have a title, we have a description, and we fill that out. So that's the template for a notification bot. And so what we'll do is we'll post to our running server, and then that will send a message into a Teams chat or channel and display this adaptive card with some information. And what else you get with the toolkit by default is you also get some opinions on how you can take this into production or take this into the cloud. And we give you infrastructure files here. So we give you bicep templates to be able to run this in Azure. And so we give you everything you need by default to be able to provision and deploy this inside of Azure if you want to. And like I mentioned, this is optional. You can choose to host this somewhere else if you want, but using the toolkit, we just have all the registrations and everything you need to be able to run this directly in Azure. So you can run this locally with VS Code and run debug it. And then when you're ready to actually host this somewhere, you can use the toolkit's commands here. So we have the provision, deploy, and you can publish. And the way that you can customize all that and all the automation is done inside of these YAML files. So this is new in version 5. So if you've looked at the toolkit before and you haven't checked out the latest version that we talked about last week at Build, you can check this out. This is a new feature, is that all the automation and everything that the toolkit helps you do is expressed as a YAML file here. And it's very similar to GitHub Actions or a pipeline file if you're familiar with those. And basically we have some predefined actions here that do things that are tuned specifically for developing Teams apps. So there's some things you have to do, like create an app registration on the platform and get an ID back. And so that's what this action does here. And you can see it writes the Teams app ID to an environment file. Same with creating an Azure Active Directory application for the bot, which is a dependency for creating a bot. And so the toolkit has a bunch of these things scaffolded out by default to give you everything you need. So you can just start with a project template. You can hit F5 in VS Code or start debugging, and then it will go through all these steps and we'll create everything for you. And I've already done this in another project just to save a little bit of time. So I'll just bring that over here. So here's the same project. And if I just go to VS Code here and just click Start Debugging, it will go through all that automation. And you can see if I scroll up a little bit, there's some prerequisite checks here. Oh, it's zipping past, so it's a little hard to see. But here's all these actions executing. So it created a Teams app. It creates a new Azure Active Directory app for my bot, creates the bot framework registration, validates my manifest to make sure my scheme is correct and I didn't make any typos or any mistakes. And then the toolkit will also save all that information into these environment files. So here's all my information here.
So it really takes care of a lot of the kind of boilerplate dimensions and a lot of the operational dimensions of actually deploying your application and setting up all of the scaffolding.
Yeah, and previously what you'd have to do is you'd have to be jumping through a couple different portals in order to do this. So you might jump through like the bot framework portal, the Azure portal, the Teams developer portal, and set these things up, and you'd be pasting some information back and forth as you configured these. So this helps developers get started quickly, and they can just focus on getting right into the code of their application. They don't have to think too much yet about setting up all these things up. So all of this is automated, but for you. So when you do get to the point where you do need to customize this, or you do need to take this into production, or you want to put this in a CI/CD environment, you can start to tweak these things and tune these things and go back and peel back the layers. But when you're just getting started, like for this hackathon is a great time if you have never built for Teams before. You can start with the toolkit, choose a template, and then just hit F5 and start debugging, and you'll be set.
And so your bot itself like used bot framework to implement the bot, but do you have to use the bot framework?
You do today, yes.
Okay.
One thing that you can that Archana talked about is in the future, when we start talking about Copilot extensibility, there's some really cool ways to extend Teams through Copilot, where you can just specify an endpoint inside the manifest file, and you really get like you don't need to have any code or implementation for that. So we're very excited about that, and that'll be coming soon. But for these bots, you do need to use the bot framework, and it uses Azure Bot Service by default.
Gotcha.
So let me see. Did that launch? Gotta find my browser here. Give me 1 second.
We all have so many tabs.
Yeah, I have a lot of tabs open. Let me find where it is. Give me 1 second. And what that did is it went through all that automation. It's running my application, and then what we do by default too with the template is since this is all in VS Code, in order to launch it and debug it, all of this is set up with stuff you might be familiar with in VS Code. So we have launch tasks, which you can see. If I want to launch an Edge, it just launches it in a Teams web browser instance. And then the other thing that we have is we have integrated tunneling. Since these bots through an Azure bot registration, in order for us to debug this locally, that needs to be able to talk to my local machine to create a tunnel for you. And that's all set up inside of these tasks. So you can customize what ports they're using. You can private or haste and excitement to show you is I did already log in. So the toolkit gives you a way to log in with M365 account and developer account. So if you don't environment where you can upload apps, which can be in and some organizations, what you can do is you can sign up for a free guide setting up for the. So I've done that here already. That's how it knows which Teams tenant to launch. And what did I do with that browser? Here it is. And let me bring my bot up. What was the name of this bot? My notification. I seem to have lost my bot here while I find that. The other thing I didn't get a chance to demonstrate here today, while I realize I lost it, is we also have a preview in Visual Studio 2022. So you can use Teams Toolkit in there. It's available in the Visual Studio installer. So if you're a .NET developer and you want to get started building Teams apps, we have some support in Visual Studio 2022 preview. So 17, I think .7 is the latest preview. And so you can create apps there. You can you basically get some project templates. So you can do file, new project, choose Microsoft Teams app. And then we have similar project templates in tab, bot, message extension, etc. And I think the tab templates, our project template for tabs uses Blazor. So if you want to experiment, or maybe you're familiar with Blazor, then you can go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm gonna wait for this to launch. And then while I'm waiting for that, I'll go ahead and the thing I think to be able to test this, you can just post to our server. So it's running on localhost for me. So I can post to that, and then we should be able to just see my notification in there. let me think what else is, while I'm waiting for that, let me think of what else we can talk about for the toolkit. I think I've pretty covered everything.
Yeah, I
Fortunately,
think
everything
one
is
one
pretty
other thing
straightforward and simple. So
one other thing that's super cool about it is that because this is all integrated, you also get integrated debugging, and there's no, additional configuration that you need to do to actually be able to set a breakpoint and step through that code.
I don't know if it's just me, but I lost Amanda's sound.
Oh, I think we might be having some network connectivity issues here, John. So maybe we should, I think we can hear you. So you keep going.
Okay, cool. Well, this seems to have worked. So, okay, sorry if I missed your question. Some reason my network is not working well. So, okay, so there's my app loaded, Teams loaded. There I just sent my post. It's good. You can see there's enough. So this is the adaptive card displaying, and this is the JSON kind of adapting to Teams. So we see our title and description. This is everything we had in the project. So that's what you get by default. So you can take this as you want and go ahead and start building apps, and hope that you use the toolkit. And if you want to get started, really easy way to get started with the toolkit. There's a couple resources I have here for you. We have a learn module that you can go through a couple different steps. We have the documentation for the toolkit is available. You can get all the prerequisites and how to install, and then it's also open source. So if you want to start on GitHub, you can do that as well. And then something else you can check out, like Archana mentioned, is the Teams AI SDK. If you want to build something with AI, that also was announced last week, and that's super cool. And we have some samples available for that in the toolkit that you can find either through the extension or through the repository.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Well, now everybody can get started building your experiences for Microsoft Teams. And, this hackathon is really a perfect time for you to explore all of this because, we've assembled an incredible community and subject matter experts that can really help you guys transform your business and your customer experience. The Teams toolkit that John just demoed is available for Visual Studio Code now. And as he mentioned, there's also a preview version for .NET developers in the latest version of Visual Studio. So you can get access to that as well. And it really gives you everything that you need to quickly get started so that you can automate your development workflow, so you can focus on the code that's really unique to your scenario. And it has integrated debugging with dev tunnels, and that'll really let you run your apps in Teams and in Outlook and in Microsoft 365. So we're all super excited to see what you're going to create. Waldek and Gary are going to share a little bit more about the specifics of the hackathon and how you guys can all get started and all of the awesome prizes that you might be able to win. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Thank you very much, John. We had a little hiccups there, but Teams Toolkit, fantastic tooling. I absolutely love it. I've been using it for a good year, and the new version is spot on. So exactly what Amanda and John were saying there, that if you want to get started developing apps for Teams, it's the best place to start to get going really quickly. So if that's tabs or bots or message extensions as well, Toolkit's gonna kind of cover everything for you there as well. So so just want to also thank Archana as well, who
definitely and I think it was really great overview. And as you said, Toolkit is really great because it takes away so much of the the necessary work that you have to do in order to build the app, package it up, and so forth and so on, allowing you to really focus on building the app, on writing the code, like allowing you as a developer to do your job and not worry about hooking up a debugger and so forth and so on. Like none of that. You just focus on building the app. That's really cool.
Yeah, and for me, right, it's if you have a list of things that you need to go through, you've got to, create things in Azure, AD registration, services. You've got lots of kind of URLs and IDs. You make one mistake in those, and you keep thinking, oh, okay, where do I debug? And that's the power of the toolkit, in that it's handling all those things in the background. You know that it's just going to run, it's just going to work, and like you say, you get straight on with the development, and that's the bit where. That's the fun part. That's the bit that I always liked, and doing the plumbing and scaffolding. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, and like there is nothing like the feeling where you press F5 and you see your app actually work, and you can just go through it, click through it. Like you get that interaction. That is really cool.
Definitely, yeah. Start from a place of success, right? In seconds, and yeah, I mean, I think 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes to stand up a bot and get developing. That is, is perfect. So we've seen just why you'd want to start building apps for teams, and then how to get started, and the different types of apps that you can build as well. So now it's your turn. So we're going to hand it over to you now, because the hack has officially started. Download Teams Toolkit. Look at the learning paths as well. Look at the new libraries and announcements that were announced at Build as well, and start hacking. So we're just going to cover the kind of the high level elements of the hack, just so that you know absolutely everything you need to know. So
Exactly.
as I already mentioned, start hacking today.
Yeah.
First of June.
There isn't much, right? We only have to cover a few things, so it won't be long. But just to ensure that you know exactly the right thing, because at the end of the day, we really want to give away that prize, and who knows, it might be you. So with that in mind, how about we just quickly glance about what do we have planned, what's going to happen in the coming days, and most importantly, what do you need to do to make chance to win that awesome prize?
So step one. Register,
right? Like go to this link, which you see on the screen, which is aka.ms/htt, not http, htt for hack teams, hack together teams, right? /register, fill in the form. Why? Well, we need a few info from you, so that when you win the prize, we know where to send it to, right? So that is exactly why. Also, everybody who submits a hack will get a digital badge. Again, we need to know where to send that badge to, right? So there is just a few pages for you to go through, mostly, legal things that we're required to include. But then on the last page, give us like a few info bits about yourself. And with that, you are ready to go. If you hack as a team, please have everybody on a team register, because again, everybody will get a badge. And if you win as a team, everybody on the team will win a prize. So we will need the info from everybody.
So step one, now to step two.
Exactly. The place to be. This hack is asynchronous. You can work as much and as little as you can. If you are a 10x developer, maybe you're done with your app already. Who knows? If you want some more time to explore what is new, what's coming, the things that we have talked about, you might want some time. That is totally up to you, right? How will you know what's going on? Well, we have a repo that we put together basically as the landing zone, the place for you to be, to ask questions, see who's working on what people are asking about. Well, if you have questions, you want to learn more, you're stuck, you want to share progress, you want to show off your app, this is the one place for you to go to, aka.ms/htt, right? Go there, and that is kind of the landing zone that we've got with experts from Microsoft Product Group, MVPs, communities, waiting there to help you out in case you're stuck, in case you're looking for samples, examples, inspiration, whatever. That is the place to be. Keep that link in bookmarks.
And now onto the prizes. So the the thing that we're all interested in, right? And we've got a few categories that we're actually going to be awarding prizes in. So we have the grand prize winner, the best AI powered solution, the best productivity focused solution as well, and we've also got a community hack winner as well. So this is a guest judges from the European Collaboration Summit that happened last week, who have kindly sponsored one of the categories as well. And as Waldek mentioned, everyone who submits a project will receive a digital Credly badge, as well as recognition of participating and submitting your project throughout the hack as well. And over the next 2 weeks, we have many live sessions lined up. So obviously we had today's session where you were learning about why build apps for teams and the different types of apps that you can use, and also the tooling that we've shown today. So over the coming weeks, we're going to have live sessions that are going to cover different ways of building apps for teams as well. So we have our first session, which is an introduction to Teams tabs using SharePoint Framework. So if you're a SharePoint Framework developer, that might be something that interests you as well, of how you can take your SharePoint web parts and extend them to Teams, and also Outlook and Microsoft 365 as well. And in the next session, we have Graph. Waldek, do you want to take that one?
Well, actually, in the next one before that, we will talk about AI and bots.
That's true.
Right. So first things first, and I think that many folks are really interested in that, because over the last few months, you couldn't turn around and not hear about AI. So this is it. This is like next week on Tuesday, we will have session, like a whole hour dedicated to that, how you can build Teams bots and how you can infuse them with AI to harness the power of that and bring it into to Teams. And then the day after, we will talk more about different ways to how you can tap into all the data and insights that you've got already stored in Microsoft 365, the place where you work, or where you're at work or at school, the place where you work every day, and then how you can tap into that using the Microsoft Graph, the API, to access the data and insights in Microsoft 365.
Perfect. And then following on from that, we have an Ask the Expert session. So here you'll be able to meet members of the engineering teams at Microsoft, and they'll be here to answer your questions. So if you have questions that you want to ask, this is the session that you'll want to join. Connect with these folks who are building the platform that we're using, and the tooling as well, which we're using, the tooling which John and Amanda showed earlier. And then finally, we have our closing keynote on Thursday, the 15th of June, where we're going to have a good wrap up, and it's going to be community focused as well. So we're going to have a lot of members from the Microsoft 365 community, who are just going to share, a lot of their insights, how you can, after the hack, participate in the community as well, and have an understanding of what the community offers for you. And with that, we can now announce the next session and the speakers as well. So June the 5th, the next session, same time, same place as we are now. We have 4 speakers lined up for you. We have Olivia Gazzardo, we have Aicha Bash, Vesa Juvonen, and we have Waldek, who's already here to tell you all about building Teams tabs using SharePoint Framework.
Exactly. But with that said, now is really the time to hack. Now is the time for you to roll up your sleeves and get going, build whatever ideas you have. We cannot really wait. We're really excited to see what different things you will build, right? We're excited to see what creative ideas you will have, you will bring. And again, if there's anything else, keep in mind the URL ak.ms/hct. That is the place where you can reach out to us any time of the day, and we will really try to get back to you as soon as we can. We have team members all over the world. So it shouldn't really take us much time to get back to you, get you unblocked so that you can get hacking with apps for Teams.
Definitely. Yeah. So as a kind of final word, if you've just registered, make sure you go into the discussions area in the GitHub repository. Go in there, introduce yourself. You'll already see people who have already done that over the few weeks previous to this session. Get chatting, ask questions. If you don't ask, we can't help as well. So make sure that you just ask those questions that you have. Will help you, will unblock you, and make sure that you can have a successful hack. And with that, I would say we will see you on Monday for the next session. And happy coding, happy hacking.
Happy coding.